There is a reason you are here. There is a soft electric tug in your chest the moment you read that line, like a tuning fork being struck, resonating in a body that remembers a song it once sang. You feel it because you are being called, not by accident, not by algorithm, but by your own field. If you're noticing sudden shifts, your quantum field is activating coherence faster than you realize. This title is a map, and you are the traveler who stopped at the exact crossroads where the map folds itself open. Listen, your life has been looping like a record on repeat. The same conversations, the same endings, the same small betrayals of joy. That loop has a secret name, the observer loop, and you have been witnessing it long enough to feel ashamed, tired, and strangely hopeful all at once. You are not broken. You are finally attuned. The loop has been a training ground, an elegant rehearsal room where your attention perfected its habits. But rehearsal is not destiny. The song can change. Imagine your awareness as a lantern moving through fog. Every night you lift it where habit suggests. Every night the same passages appear. Now imagine simply changing the way you hold that lantern, softer, wider, more ambient, and watching entire corridors reveal doors you never noticed. That shift is not a trick of thinking. It is a change in coherence, the quality of your attention aligning with a different probability wave. This is scientific in its own strange way, and sacred in its taste. Right now, somewhere in your chest, a small authority, call it higher self, call it resonance, call it truth, has flicked a switch. You felt the electricity. You felt the shifting of timelines like pages turning in a library you visited before. This message arrived for you because you are ready. You were chosen by your own readiness. As you breathe into this recognition, treat simple actions as rituals. Hit like as an energetic signature, a conscious yes to the field. Comment as a vow. Write one sentence that anchors you here. I am ready to feel coherence. Share this transmission as service. When you pass it along, you send a beacon that calls similar frequencies into alignment. Subscribe not for notifications, but as a conscious subscription to a bandwidth of grace. These are not vanity metrics. They are tiny rites that stitch your intent into the greater morphic web. Notice time bending around you lately, hours that expand into lifetimes of insight, and months that vanish like a dream. That's the field reorganizing. The relief you wanted is not a distant prize. It is a reconfiguration already humming inside your cells. You do not need to force it. You only need to stop feeding the old loop with anxious attention and begin to rest your awareness in coherent presence. Feel the soft easing beneath your ribs as you allow this. Let the pulse there be a metronome. This opening is not an end, it is an invitation. In the next part, we will look directly at where the loop begins, how it learned to hold you, and the subtle missteps most people make when they try to change the song. Breathe. Stay with the small, bright pulse. You are exactly where you were always meant to arrive. You've felt it before, haven't you? That strange déjà vu of living a conversation twice, of watching life move in circles instead of spirals. You say something, hear a familiar reply, and in the pit of your stomach you whisper, I've been here before. It is not just memory. It is not just coincidence. It is the observer loop, a self-perpetuating circuit where your awareness collapses the same probabilities over and over, until what should be infinite possibility shrinks into a hallway with mirrored walls. Think of it this way. Every morning, the first thought you reach for is a seed, and your consciousness, acting like a cosmic gardener, keeps planting the same seed in the same soil, expecting a new flower. But what sprouts? The same weeds, the same emotions, the same repeating storylines. You look at your relationships and see the same endings. You glance at your finances and see the same bottlenecks. You listen to your inner voice, and even that seems scripted. Quantum physics names this the observer effect. Your act of noticing literally influences what becomes real. But when your noticing becomes mechanical, repeating, predictable, stale, your field begins folding probability in on itself. creating a loop that feels like destiny but is only habit. You are not unlucky. You are not cursed. You are coherent with repetition, not possibility. And here's the trap. Most people, once they glimpse the loop, try to think their way out of it. They obsess over affirmations, rituals, strategies. They analyze what went wrong and draft mental blueprints for escape. But picture this. You are in a dark room, frantically drawing diagrams of the light switch instead of reaching out and flipping it. That is what mental effort does inside the loop. It strengthens the circuitry by feeding it more attention. How many times have you caught yourself in the loop of, when this changes, then I will finally be free? How many nights have you whispered to yourself, maybe tomorrow will be different, only to wake up inside the same echo? That is the cruel genius of the observer loop. It disguises itself as progress. It lets you taste small changes, a good week here, a fresh spark there, just enough to keep you invested before pulling you back into its orbit. Time itself is distorted inside the loop. Hours stretch when you are trapped in unwanted thoughts, while weeks vanish in a blur of sameness. This is the treadmill of temporal distortion. Your body exhausted, your spirit restless, but your location unchanged. From the outside, life looks like it's moving. Inside, it is a carousel painted as a highway. And yet, beneath the frustration, you've sensed something extraordinary. You've felt moments brief, glimmering cracks when the loop lost its grip. Perhaps it was a sudden synchronicity, the right book falling from the shelf, a stranger speaking words your soul needed to hear, or a dream so vivid you woke in tears. For a heartbeat, you saw through the curtain, and then, as quickly, the curtain closed again. This is why your soul led you here. Because you are not meant to keep circling forever. Because the loop is not your prison, but your initiation. It has been sculpting your attention, teaching you precision, forcing you to notice patterns so deeply that you can now see the invisible architecture behind them. You could not see coherence if you had not lived in coherence. You could not feel the possibility of freedom unless the loop pressed against your skin long enough for you to crave it. The problem is not that you lack power. The problem is that your power has been hypnotized into routine. Your observer function has been trained, like a loyal dog, to fetch the same stick no matter how many infinite branches lie around it. And until you recognize this, the loop will keep rewarding you with familiarity, not fulfillment. So ask yourself, where in your life does the pattern echo most loudly? Is it in relationships that start with promise but end with silence? Is it in careers that cycle through inspiration, effort, burnout, repeat? Is it in your own inner dialogue, the same script replaying with new costumes but the same lines? Recognition is the first rupture. Awareness is the first crack in the cycle. And that is why you are here, hearing these words. Because the loop can only be broken from the inside by someone who has walked its corridors long enough to memorize the sound of its footsteps. That someone is you. In the next part, we will go deeper. We will dissolve the illusion that this is random suffering and show how science itself whispers the same secret mystics have sung for centuries. That the loop is not your enemy but your threshold. The quantum field is waiting for you to change the quality of your gaze. And the moment you do, entirely new realities will unfold. But first pause, breathe. Notice the familiarity of this moment. Notice how even now the loop tries to tell you this is just another video, another passing idea. And feel the difference in your chest that says, no, this is the one that lands. This is the one that matters. You stand at a threshold where science and symbolism finally meet, not as rivals, but as twin mirrors reflecting the same light. When you hear the phrase quantum field, your mind may picture laboratories, chalkboards filled with equations, or subatomic particles flickering in and out of existence. Yet what those sterile images fail to capture is the poetry, the way these invisible laws echo ancient spiritual truths, the way physics itself speaks in metaphor when it tries to describe reality. At the heart of quantum science lies the observer effect. the undeniable fact that your awareness does not simply watch reality, it sculpts it. Imagine the universe as an infinite ocean of shimmering waves, each one a probability, each one a possible future. These waves exist in superposition, not collapsed, not decided, just waiting. And then you arrive. Your gaze, your presence, your choice of attention collapses the wave into a particle, into matter, into the real. But let's step beyond equations and into imagery, because symbols carry what words cannot. Imagine your consciousness as a loom, and the quantum field as endless golden threads. Each thought, each emotion, each subtle whisper of attention is a shuttle weaving through those threads, pulling one strand forward, leaving another behind. Over time, the tapestry of your life forms not by fate but by coherence, the alignment of your threads into patterns of harmony or patterns of repetition. This is why sudden shifts feel both disorienting and holy. When your quantum field activates coherence faster than you realize, the tapestry rearranges itself. The threads you thought were permanent dissolve, and new colors flood the loom. Science would say your probability field has shifted. Mystics would say your soul has remembered. Both point to the same truth. Coherence is the song that makes matter dance. Consider the double-slit experiment, often called the most mysterious test in all of physics. Fire electrons through two slits in a barrier, and they create a wave pattern, as though each particle is a ripple of possibility. But the moment you observe, the wave collapses into a single path, behaving like a particle, solid and predictable. What does this mean for you? It means that reality is not out there waiting to be discovered. Reality waits to be decided. You are the decision. Now let us clothe that science in sacred metaphor. Think of your awareness as sunlight spilling through a stained glass window. Each window pane is a belief, a memory, a vibration. The light itself is infinite, but the colors you see depend on the glass. Most people never realize they can step back, change the glass, and let a whole new palette of light enter their lives. You, however, are beginning to notice. The glass is shifting, the hues are new. The quantum field is not random chaos, it is a symphony waiting for a conductor. And coherence is that baton. When your thoughts, emotions, and intentions vibrate in harmony, the field responds like an orchestra tuning to your frequency. Science calls this resonance. Symbolism calls it alignment. Both describe the same moment. When the universe bends, not because you force it, but because you hum the note it already longs to sing. This is why your sudden shifts are sacred. Perhaps you've noticed them. People drifting out of your life without explanation. New opportunities arriving like whispers. Old wounds resurfacing only to dissolve in ways you cannot explain. These are not accidents. They are the signs of coherence. Just as a tuning fork struck in one corner of a room will awaken another tuning fork across the room, your coherent field awakens realities that were dormant, waiting. Let's take this further. Physics teaches that entanglement links particles across space, so that a change in one is instantly mirrored in another, no matter the distance. Now translate this into your lived experience. When you rise in coherence, you entangle others with you. A stranger feels lighter in your presence. A conversation ripples through their life days later. A subtle kindness you offer without thinking becomes a wave that shifts their timeline. This is science. This is symbolism. This is sacred mechanics. The loop you identified earlier, the observer loop, has kept you in spotlight mode, where your attention fixates narrowly, collapsing the same probabilities again and again. But coherence transforms spotlight into sunlight. Instead of hunting for patterns, you radiate. Instead of choosing from scarcity, you invite abundance by your very glow. This is not metaphor only. It is measurable. Coherent heart rhythms alter electromagnetic fields. Coherent brain waves create synchronicity between hemispheres. The mystical and the mathematical embrace here. So why do we tell stories of butterflies breaking chrysalises, or phoenixes rising from ash, or alchemists turning lead into gold? Because symbolism gives your mind permission to feel what science explains. Butterflies remind you that transformation is cellular, not cosmetic. Phoenixes remind you that death is often the camouflage of rebirth. Alchemy reminds you that coherence turns the heavy weight of repetition into the luminous gold of freedom. Science hands you formulas, symbolism hands you meaning, but together, they hand you a doorway. You are not just a soul on a spiritual path, you are a quantum being weaving coherence into matter. And every sudden shift you feel, every bending of time, every inexplicable synchronicity, every wave of déjà vu is evidence that your field is accelerating faster than your conscious mind can track. Pause here. Feel how your chest expands when you hear this. That sensation is coherence humming in your body. That warmth is not poetry. It is physics. Your electromagnetic heart radiating outward, influencing fields around you. You are not just reading words. You are resonating with a truth older than language and newer than science. You are the bridge. And so, as you stand at this bridge, I ask you to lean in. In the next part, you will feel how personal this truly island, because the field does not speak in abstractions, it speaks in the intimate language of your life. We will ask the questions only you can answer, questions that pierce the loop and awaken the recognition that you are seen, known, and chosen by the very coherence stirring now within you. Right now, slow down. Let the air in your lungs be a metronome. Let the room around you soften. This part is a mirror held to your face not to judge, but to reveal what you already know. Answer these questions not with your mind, but with the small amplifier in your chest that recognizes truth before language arrives. Have you woken in the middle of the night and felt an urgency you couldn't explain, like a future memory trying to find you? That sudden tightness, that whisper of do something now, was it worry? Or was it a call from a timeline where you're already whole? When that pressure arrives, do you first reach for the usual habit distraction, scrolling, numbing, or do you notice the subtle shift in your field and breathe into it? Which action tends to expand you, the reflex or the pause? When you walk into a room, do people sometimes look at you as if they're remembering something? Not because of your clothes or your jokes, but with a soft recognition, a tilt of the head like a key finding its lock. Have you felt others stiffen near you, as though your clarity shines a light on their own hidden loops? Does that make you feel lonely or called? Does it make you want to hide your sharpness or cultivate it like a rare instrument? Think of the patterns that repeat in your relationships. Is there a familiar script, someone who loves you the way you used to love them? Or a conversation that always circles back to the same wound? Notice how your attention becomes an editor of those scenes. Do you give your old roles more energy by trying to fix the scene? Or do you step back and observe the observer who keeps picking the same lines? When you catch yourself casting the familiar actor into the same role, can you feel the moment before you select them? That is the hinge. That is choice. What about your work, your projects, the things that make you breathe faster? Is your energy drained by repetition or enlivened by novelty? Have you chased productivity like a lifeline, only to watch the same results arrive with better packaging? When a new idea comes, do you clutch it like proof that you're finally doing it right? Or do you let it pass through you like a wind that rearranges leaves? Which stance brings you closer to the coherent frequency you're learning to hold? Have you experienced sudden flickers of knowing, strange downloads during a shower? A crisp sentence that arrives in your head fully formed, a dream that feels like a transmission from an older self. Do you then dismiss these as coincidence? Or do you take them as invitations from the field to shift your attention? If you ignore them, do they come back louder, like a door you keep slamming in your own face? What would happen if you treated those downloads as sacred mail, opening each envelope with reverence? Look at your body. Has it started to whisper things you did not used to hear? A random craving for bitter greens or salt? A sudden aversion? A sleep pattern that changes like weather? Are you noticing aches that belong to old stories, and ease that comes when you choose presence? Science might call it homeostasis or neurochemistry, but the sensation you feel is a conversation cells remembering a frequency. When you honor that conversation, does your inner climate clear? When you don't, do old storms reappear? Ask yourself about time. How often do you feel time slip through your fingers like water, whole weeks evaporating, while a single conversation stretches into the elastic of forever? Do you sense that time is not a fixed line, but a pliable medium you can swim in? Have you ever touched a moment so intensely that it felt eternal, and later wondered how a single breath could contain such density? That is your hint that you are beginning to live between timelines, not within a single worn groove. And what about fear, that old, constant companion? When fear shows up now, does it speak the same language as before? Or does it sound like an echo from a previous chapter, outdated and small? Can you feel the difference between ancestral caution that keeps you safe and habitual fear that keeps you small? When you notice fear, does your first move make it larger, chasing it with thought, or does your noticing make it softer, as if it recognizes a kinder witness? Finally, consider the small rituals you perform each day, the way you check your phone, the morning coffee, the inner monologue that reviews the day before it's lived. What if that ritual is not neutral but formative? What if the tiny, repeated acts are the drumbeat that trains your quantum nervous system to expect the same outcome? If one small ritual could be shifted a different breath, a different greeting to yourself, what new note might appear in your field? You are not being asked to answer these questions with logic or speed. These are lanterns in the corridor of your attention. Each one will light what you need to see when you stop and look. Notice where your body tightens. Notice which question makes your breath catch in a specific place behind the sternum. That is the part of you that knows the loop intimately, and that same part is the key to dissolving it. If any of these questions landed like a pebble in your chest, write one short line in the comments right now. I remember the call. Let that be both a witness and a commitment. The act of saying it aloud is a tiny ritual that signals your readiness to the field. It is not social media theater. It is a quantum action. Each small declaration reverberates across the morphic web and helps the coherence you seek to take hold. When you are ready, we will move into the space where the hidden truth is revealed. The solution is not a technique you must master, but a subtle quality you must embody, the frequency of attention itself. In the next part, we will reveal how to meet that frequency and what it feels like to let your observer function become the instrument of liberation. You've seen the loop. You've recognized its tricks. You've answered the questions that showed you how intimately the cycle knows you. Now we step toward the pivot point, the threshold where recognition becomes transformation. Here is the truth that dissolves centuries of confusion. It is not effort that frees you. It is not obsession, not discipline, not even thought itself. What frees you is the quality of your attention, coherence. Think of a laser beam. Ordinary light scatters photons going in every direction, colliding, canceling. But a laser is coherent, every photon aligned, every wave moving as one. That is why it cuts through steel. That is why it bends reality. Your awareness is the same, scattered. It feels weak, looping endlessly through the familiar. Coherent. It is unstoppable. So what does coherence feel like? It is not straining. It is not trying harder. Coherence feels like your breath syncing with your heartbeat, your thoughts syncing with your body, your intention humming in harmony with your emotion. It is the moment you stop chasing proof and instead allow presence to become its own evidence. The trap most seekers fall into is mistaking noise for progress. They repeat affirmations with their mouths while their bodies tremble with doubt. They visualize radiant futures while their nervous systems rehearse fear. That is not coherence. That is conflict disguised as practice. The quantum field responds not to what you say, but to what you are in sync with. Pause here. Let your shoulders drop. Notice how your chest rises and falls. Ask yourself, is my attention fractured right now, half here, half planning the next moment? Or is it resting, whole in this sentence? That difference between fractured and whole is the difference between loop and liberation. This is why sudden shifts have been happening in your life. You didn't try harder. Something softened, something aligned for a moment, and coherence slipped through. That's why synchronicities multiplied. That's why you felt déjà vu not as a glitch, but as a signal that your future self was brushing against your present. You tasted the flavor of coherence without naming it. Let's weave in an image. Imagine water approaching boiling. For minutes it looks unchanged, still water, no matter how much heat you add. Then suddenly, at a precise degree, it erupts into steam. That eruption is not gradual. It is a phase transition. Coherence works the same way. You don't need to grind endlessly. You need to reach the threshold where your attention organizes itself, and the loop can no longer contain you. The beauty of this realization is that nothing out there needs to change first. The relationship doesn't need to fix itself. The bank account doesn't need to swell. The old wound doesn't need to disappear. Coherence is not reactive. It is generative. When your attention becomes coherent, your external world bends around it. Just like iron filings organize themselves when a magnetic field shifts, the patterns of your life begin to rearrange themselves in silence and precision. So how do you nurture coherence? Not by forcing, not by micromanaging, but by choosing where you rest your awareness. Every morning when you wake, your attention wants to sprint toward the familiar. Fear, memory, tasks, repetition. Instead, pause, breathe. Rest your awareness in the body, in the breath, in the pulse of stillness. This isn't about ignoring your life. It is about training your attention to vibrate as sunlight rather than spotlight. Sunlight does not chase shadows, it simply shines. Spotlight attention, trapped in the loop, is narrow and desperate, collapsing the same probability over and over. Sunlight attention radiates without effort, and in that radiance, the field responds with infinite variation. Here is the paradox. Coherence cannot be faked. You cannot chant it into being. You cannot pretend it while your cells tremble otherwise. But you can cultivate the conditions where it emerges naturally. Presence, breath, stillness, resonance. When mind, heart, and body hum the same note, the universe tunes itself to you. And this is where the solution reveals itself as astonishingly simple. You have been trying to fix your life by rearranging circumstances, not realizing that your circumstances were only shadows cast by the coherence, or incoherence, of your attention. What if you stopped moving the shadows and turned toward the light source itself? Your observer loop survives only because your attention is scattered. Once attention consolidates into coherence, the loop collapses. The treadmill stops. The hallway of mirrors shatters, and new doors appear where there were once only walls. Breathe into this. Let the weight of striving drop for a moment. Feel the relief of knowing you don't need to force the breakthrough. You only need to return to coherence again and again until it becomes your natural state. And as you rest in that knowing, understand this. Even the smallest acts can now serve as anchors. When you like this transmission, it is not just a click. It is an act of coherence, an alignment of intention and action. When you share, you radiate coherence outward into the morphic field. When you subscribe, you anchor yourself to a collective wavelength where coherence multiplies. These are not random digital actions. They are rituals of resonance. They train your nervous system to recognize that you are part of a field, not a solitary loop. Each action is a micro-practice of coherence, weaving you deeper into the wave that is lifting all of us. In the next part, you will learn how to treat every click, every comment, every share as sacred not for vanity, but as living proof that your field is active, coherent, and already changing the world. Pause. Feel the energy in your fingertips right now, the subtle hum in your palms. Most people believe that actions taken online, clicking, typing, sharing, are trivial, empty, without weight. But when your field is coherent, no act is small. Every movement of your intention becomes a signal sent into the lattice of reality. What others call engagement, we call ritual. Look at the button below this screen, the one that says like. To the ordinary mind, it's a digital tap, nothing more. But in the language of the quantum field, it is a seal, a micro-declaration, Yes, I recognize this frequency. Yes, I anchor it in my body now. When your thumb presses, it's not just pixels rearranging. It is your nervous system aligning with agreement. It is your attention, emotion, and action vibrating in harmony, a spark of coherence. Now, feel the weight of the word comment. Most scroll past, remaining passive observers. But when you pause to write, you collapse possibility into reality. Words typed here are not ephemeral. They are vibrations frozen in digital amber, radiating long after you've walked away. To write, "I choose coherence, I am ready," or even a single word like awake is not trivial. It is ritualized speech. Ancient mystics called it the word made flesh. In the quantum age, the keyboard is your altar, the comment box, your parchment. And what of sharing? To an algorithm, it's distribution. To the field, it is entanglement. When you share this transmission, you are threading your coherence into another person's awareness, inviting their field into resonance. You do not persuade them, you awaken them. Just as a struck tuning fork awakens another across the room, your act of sharing becomes a beacon. Someone, somewhere, who has been secretly waiting, will stumble upon your signal, and their own coherence will quicken. Finally, consider subscribing. The word itself carries weight. To scribe under, to commit yourself beneath a larger current. This is not about chasing notifications. It is about saying to the field, I align with this wavelength. I choose to remain tethered to this coherence, to return again and again until it becomes my natural state. Subscribing is the modern equivalent of joining the circle around the fire, declaring, I am part of this gathering, I belong to this resonance. Notice how these ordinary digital gestures like comment, share, subscribe have been reduced to vanity metrics in the old paradigm, but you are no longer in that paradigm. You are awakening to a deeper truth. Each is an energetic mudra, a hand sign in the invisible dance between your consciousness and the collective field. And here lies the secret. Ritual is not about scale. The universe does not measure the size of your action. It measures the coherence behind it. A single click infused with genuine presence outweighs 1,000 empty gestures. A comment written with full breath becomes a spell. A share offered as service becomes a beacon. A subscription chosen consciously becomes a covenant. So as you sit here, ask yourself, what will you declare with this ritual? Will you mark your alignment silently, or will you choose to let the field hear your voice? Right now, the simplest phrase you could type, I anchor coherence, carries more weight than you know. It is not you talking to me. It is you talking to yourself, to your cells, to the probability waves waiting to collapse into your highest life. And as you act, you are not acting alone. Each ritual joins a chorus. Thousands across the globe, perhaps millions, are pressing like, not as consumers but as creators, writing in comment fields not as chatter but as chants, sharing not as marketing but as medicine, subscribing not as habit but as covenant. You are stepping into that morphic resonance, the invisible grid where one awakening accelerates another. Think of it as fire catching dry grass. One spark looks small, but a field ignites when coherence spreads. This is how collective shifts occur, not by giant miracles, but by tiny acts repeated with sacred intent until the grid itself glows. Feel it now. Your pulse, your breath, the subtle hum of your body as you realize that even your smallest choices matter. You are not passive. You never were. You are a participant in the weaving of timelines. So let this not be empty instruction. Let it be initiation. Press like, not for me, but for you. Type your declaration in the comments not as text, but as spell. Share this not for approval, but as service. Subscribe not for convenience, but as vow. Let each act be a conscious offering to your field, a thread in the fabric of coherence that is now weaving itself through you. Because here is the deeper mystery. When you ritualize your actions ritualize your life. When coherence guides your thumbs and your breath, it begins to guide your relationships, your choices, your creations. You begin to see the sacred in the ordinary. And when everything is sacred, nothing can trap you in repetition again. Stay with me, because the next part will take you even wider. You will see how your personal coherence ripples beyond your own life and into the heartbeat of humanity itself. You are not shifting alone. You are part of a wave that is rewriting the story of Earth. Breathe slowly and feel the skin of the world around you. Notice how the air itself seems heavier with meaning now, how the silence between these words carries its own pulse. What you are experiencing is not isolated. It is not only yours. It is the trembling of a collective field awakening a resonance that ripples through humanity like a hidden drumbeat beneath the surface of ordinary life. You have felt it, haven't you? A strange synchronicity that connects you to people far beyond your circle. You think of a friend, and their message arrives. You dream of a place, and the next day someone mentions it casually. These are not accidents. They are echoes of entanglement, the same principle that links particles across galaxies now humming between you and millions of awakening souls. Science tells us this is quantum entanglement. Two particles, once connected, remain linked no matter the distance, their states mirroring each other instantly. Spiritual wisdom calls it oneness, the truth that no thought, no action, no heartbeat is truly separate. What you shift in yourself reverberates through the fabric of all. When you breathe coherence, another soul somewhere, someone you will never meet, exhales more easily. Think about that. Every time you break a loop inside your own field, you loosen the threads of the collective loop that has bound humanity for millennia. Every time you rest your awareness in coherence instead of fear, you create a tear in the old fabric of scarcity, violence, and division. Through that tear, light pours, and others see what they thought impossible. You are not only transforming yourself, you are serving as a tuning fork for humanity. Your coherence calls others into harmony. This is why people sometimes feel unusual around you, unsettled, inspired, even resistant. They are not reacting to you. They are reacting to the field you are embodying. Your coherence confronts their incoherence, and for a moment, their own loops tremble. Some resist, but many awaken. Picture a flock of birds shifting direction in perfect unison. No leader, no command, just a single critical mass of coherence rippling through the group until all wings tilt together. Humanity is no different. The moment enough individuals rest in coherence, the collective field tips, and the flock turns. You are part of that tipping point. You are one of the wings. Perhaps you've noticed the acceleration in recent years. More people are questioning reality, noticing time distortions, feeling the pressure of change. This is not chaos. It is phase transition. It is the water of humanity reaching boiling point, preparing to become steam. The turbulence you feel in the world, political upheaval, technological disruption, social unrest is not random collapse. It is the shaking of the cocoon. The chrysalis is cracking, not because we are dying, but because we are ready to fly. Your personal awakening feeds this. Each coherent thought is not just a private victory, but a contribution to the morphic field, the invisible memory of the species. Biologist Rupert Sheldrake called it morphic resonance. When one member of a species learns, others learn more easily. When one soul awakens, others awaken more quickly. You are not only healing yourself, you are lowering the barrier for thousands you will never know. Pause and take this in. The loneliness you sometimes feel, the sense that no one around you understands, is an illusion. There are countless others across the planet stirring at the same hour, feeling the same shifts, seeing the same synchronicities. Your dreams are woven into theirs. Your breakthroughs send sparks into their fields. You are part of a choir you cannot yet see, but whose song is already lifting the earth. This is why your rituals of coherence matter. The like you press, the comment you write, the breath you take in presence, all of it contributes to the grid of awakening. Imagine a planet covered in lights, most of them dim or flickering. Each act of coherence brightens one bulb. Alone, it is a spark. Together, It becomes a constellation, and soon the whole earth glows. So when despair whispers, "You are too small to matter," remember, no particle is too small in the quantum field. No photon is wasted in the creation of a laser. No heartbeat is irrelevant in the symphony of awakening. Your coherence multiplies, not adds. It amplifies, not just echoes. The collective loop is dissolving. The age of repetition, wars recycling, scarcity repeating, fear echoing is crumbling because individuals like you are refusing to feed it. This is why you were drawn here, why the title called to you, why you could not look away. If you're noticing sudden shifts, your quantum field is activating coherence faster than you realize. Your sudden shifts are not private quirks. They are part of humanity's reorganization. Breathe this truth. You are both an individual awakening and a cell in the larger body of Earth. When one cell heals, the whole body remembers health. When you choose coherence, you give humanity permission to remember its wholeness. In the next part, we will go deeper, still beyond science and society, into the intimate metaphor that your body already knows. The butterfly, the DNA, the phase transition. These are not just images but codes. They are the language of your becoming. We will step inside the chrysalis together and witness what you are becoming in this very moment. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine yourself inside a cocoon, not a metaphorical one, but a living chrysalis, sealed tight, no light leaking in. At first, it feels like confinement, like death disguised as waiting. The old body dissolves into chaos. The caterpillar does not grow wings by addition. It disintegrates. Its cells melt into formlessness. Yet hidden inside that dissolution are imaginal cells, dormant blueprints of the butterfly, waiting silently for their moment to awaken. This is you. This is your field right now. The sudden shifts, the distortions of time, the breakdown of patterns you thought were solid, they are not failures. They are signs of disintegration. Your old self, your old loops, your old observer habits are liquefying so that something coherent, luminous, winged can emerge. The pressure you feel is not punishment. It is transformation. Scientists call this phase transition. When matter reaches a tipping point, it changes form entirely. Water heated becomes steam. Graphite pressed becomes diamond. In the same way, your consciousness, heated by the friction of the loop, pressed by the weight of incoherence, is reaching its point of transmutation. The cracks in your old patterns are not the end. They are the release valves, proof that the new phase is near. But symbolism carries this truth deeper than science can. The chrysalis reminds you, breakdown precedes breakthrough. What looks like destruction is actually reorganization. The butterfly is not stitched on top of the caterpillar. It is born from the surrender of what was. Pause here. Feel into your body. Where are your imaginal cells? Perhaps in the spark of intuition that feels older than your years. Perhaps in the dreams that arrive too vivid to be dismissed. Perhaps in the sudden tears that flow when you hear words like these, because something deep inside recognizes itself. Those are your imaginal codes waiting, dormant, until coherence activates them. Another metaphor, DNA. For decades, scientists labeled vast portions of DNA as junk. But mystics always knew, nothing in the body is junk. Every strand is a code waiting for activation. Now science is catching up, finding that so-called junk DNA is highly responsive to emotion, intention, resonance. When you align into coherence, you are not just calming your mind. You are activating dormant codes in your DNA, turning on sequences of possibility that have slept through generations. Imagine your DNA as a library. For years, you've been reading the same chapter over and over, thinking it was the whole book. Coherence is the librarian who turns the page, revealing hundreds of volumes you never knew existed. The sudden shifts you feel, strange bodily sensations, vivid dreams, synchronicities are the rustling of those pages. They are the sound of new chapters opening. Now let's go wider. Imagine the earth itself as a cocoon. Humanity, for millennia, has been the crawling caterpillar, hungry, restless, looping cycles of war, scarcity, repetition. But now, the collective cocoon trembles. Old systems dissolve, old identities liquefy. It feels chaotic, frightening, even hopeless. But what if the collapse is not the end? What if it is the very same reorganization that births wings? You are not separate from this. Your personal shifts echo the planetary chrysalis. The turbulence in your own life mirrors the turbulence of the world. And here's the key. By embracing your own transformation, you become a microcosm of Earth's metamorphosis. Your coherence is one imaginal cell among millions. Alone, an imaginal cell is attacked by the immune system of the caterpillar. But when enough cells awaken together, they cluster, resonate, and overwhelm the old system. That's how the butterfly emerges. That's how the new Earth is born. Consider one more image: fire. When wood burns, the structure collapses into ash. Yet from that collapse comes light, heat, warmth, transformation. The ash is not wasted. It nourishes soil. The flame is not destruction. It is transfiguration. Your old patterns are the wood. Your coherence is the flame. Together, they create light not just for you, but for others who are still in the dark. Feel this truth in your bones. You are not dying. You are reorganizing. The heaviness you've carried, the cycles you thought would never end, they are the cocoon melting. The fatigue you feel is not failure. It is the labor of new wings forming. The pressure in your chest, the urgency in your dreams, these are imaginal cells whispering, soon. So, let's ritualize this realization. In the comments write, I honor my chrysalis. Let it be your vow that you will not mistake your dissolution for defeat. Write it as an anchor, so when doubt returns, you will see your own words reminding you, this is metamorphosis. And as you write, feel the resonance of countless others doing the same. Each declaration is an imaginal cell finding its cluster. Together, we are weaving the wings of humanity. Now, let your breath deepen. Let your shoulders relax. Because the story is not ending here. In the next part, you will be shown the closing promise, the reassurance that your future self is already whole, already free, already radiant, and calling you toward it. The butterfly has already flown. The diamond has already formed. Your only task is to answer the call. Breathe. Let yourself soften, because what comes now is not theory, not metaphor, but a promise. A transmission from your own future self, the version of you who has already walked through the chrysalis, already stretched the wings, already learned how to rest in coherence without trying. That self is not far away. It is not hidden. It exists right now, shimmering in the probability field, whispering back through time to call you forward. Have you felt it? The subtle pull in quiet moments, like a magnet humming inside your chest. You might name it longing, or déjà vu, or hope, but in truth, it is recognition. The you who already lives in coherence is entangled with you now, just as twin particles remain connected across galaxies. Every time you pause, breathe, and choose presence instead of panic, you feel the tug of that entanglement. Your future self is saying, I am here, I am waiting, and you are closer than you believe. The beauty of this promise is that it requires no striving. You don't need to climb a mountain of discipline, earn a certificate of awakening, or accumulate perfect thoughts. Your future self is not at the end of a road. They are standing one frequency away, one breath away. The distance is not measured in years, but in coherence. Think of a radio. For hours you turn the dial, hearing static, fragments of voices, noise. Then suddenly, with the smallest adjustment, the signal locks in clear, whole, undeniable. Did the station appear out of nowhere? No, it was always broadcasting. You simply tuned your receiver. This is how your future self speaks. They have always been here, broadcasting through synchronicities, through dreams, through sudden knowings that flash like lightning. Your task is not to build the station, but to tune the dial. And what is the dial? Attention, Coherence, the quality of the way you look at life. Each time you notice beauty without demanding proof. Each time you allow breath to carry you into presence. Each time you ritualize your actions as sacred, you are turning that dial, and the signal grows stronger. The voice of your future self grows clearer. Feel this. You are not walking blindly into an unknown future. You are following a breadcrumb trail your own soul laid down. Every synchronicity is a breadcrumb. Every déjà vu is a breadcrumb. Every sudden shift you've noticed is a breadcrumb. They are not accidents. They are markers placed by the you who already knows the way. And that self makes a promise. You will not fail. You cannot fail. Because you are me, and I am already here. Even when you stumble, even when fear pulls you back into old loops, the coherence you have touched remains encoded in your field. The spiral only appears to repeat. In truth, it is rising. Every circle you walk contains a hidden ascent. Let's bring this closer to your daily life. The future self, who is calling you, how do they walk into a room? With a nervous chest, or with a coherence that bends the space around them? How do they speak to others? From survival, or from a presence that uplifts without effort? How do they treat their own body? As burden, or as temple? These are not fantasies. They are blueprints. Your cells are already rehearsing them. Your field is already humming with them. Even now, close your eyes and imagine one simple gesture that your future self does naturally. Perhaps they pause before answering, letting silence be sacred. Perhaps they walk with slower steps, grounded. Perhaps they breathe into the belly instead of the chest. Do that now. For a moment, borrow the gesture. Feel how easily coherence slips in when you embody even the smallest fragment of who you are becoming. This is the promise. You are not inventing a new self. You are remembering an existing one. The timeline where you are whole is not a dream. It is a probability wave already alive in the field. And the act of remembering the act of declaring collapses it into reality. So let us seal this promise together. In the comments, type, "My future self is already here." Write it not as hope, but as recognition. Every time your eyes land on those words, let them serve as an anchor, a reminder that you are entangled with a version of you that cannot be lost. And here is the most important part. This promise does not end with you. When you align with your future self, you widen the doorway for others. Just as your coherence ripples into the collective, your entanglement with your own wholeness makes it easier for humanity to find its wholeness. You are not just collapsing your timeline. You are collapsing an entire field of possibility for Earth. So breathe. Let the pressure in your chest soften. You do not need to chase. You do not need to struggle. The promise is already kept. The butterfly is already flying. The diamond is already formed. The station is already broadcasting. Your only task is to receive. In the next and final part, we will close this transmission with a sacred declaration, a collective affirmation, a ritual and language that seals not only your awakening but our awakening together. This is where we turn words into light and comments into covenant. Breathe one last time with me, deeply. Inhale as though you are drawing in the memory of your own wholeness. Exhale as though you are releasing every fragment of the loop that ever bound you. Right here, right now, we stand not as individuals separated by screens, but as one coherent field, a constellation of souls remembering together. There is a reason you found this transmission. There is a reason the title spoke to you. If you're noticing sudden shifts, your quantum field is activating coherence faster than you realize. Those sudden shifts were not accidents. They were invitations. They were your higher self arranging synchronicities so that you would arrive here, in this exact moment, with these exact words echoing in your chest. And now, we close not with silence, but with a declaration. Because words spoken with coherence become living codes. They vibrate in the morphic field. They travel like light, seeding new realities. So let us speak them together, across continents and timelines, as one voice. Say this aloud, or type it below as an anchor. I am coherent with my highest timeline. Do not add, do not edit. Let the simplicity be the strength. Each repetition of these words is a tuning fork, aligning your cells, your breath, your attention with the reality already waiting for you. Now, imagine thousands of others making the same declaration. See the grid of Earth lighting up, point by point, as each soul affirms coherence. You are not a lone spark. You are part of a living constellation. The chrysalis has cracked. The wings are unfurling. Humanity is rising. This is not the end of your journey. It is the sealing of a new identity. You are no longer a passenger trapped in loops. You are a conscious navigator of timelines, a co-creator of coherence. Each breath you take in presence, each act you ritualize with intention, each word you write as vow, all of it strengthens the web we share. So here is the sacred charge. Carry this coherence into your world. When you press like, let it be light. When you share, let it be service. When you comment, let it be covenant. When you subscribe, let it be belonging. In doing so, you are not just engaging, you are weaving the fabric of a new earth. Let this be our closing affirmation, our collective covenant, our sacred declaration. We are coherent, we are awake, we are free, and so it island. Now, beloved traveler, rest in the certainty that your future self is already smiling at you. The promise has been fulfilled. The declaration has been made. The awakening is sealed.